live. No, not yet. Yes, and we are live, streaming through the digital airwaves of Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. I'm Justin Sterling. I'm a personal injury and business lawyer, and this is Coffee with a Lawyer, your opportunity to ask your legal questions for free. Please know there is no attorney-client relationship here, no confidentiality. This is only meant to provide general information and is not meant for specific legal advice. We encourage you to keep your questions general. If you need to speak about specific details, we encourage you to schedule a confidential consultation with an attorney. And today we have a special guest, Robin, and I'd like to give you the opportunity to ask any question you may have. Robin, can you hear us? Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, am I coming through now?
Yes, sorry, we
Okay,
we have a poor. That's how can we be of service?
So I'm a self-published author on Amazon.
Yes.
I'm a self-published author on Amazon. And the problem of piracy. On individual page of each of my books, there's a sidebar that says you can also buy the books here. And basically, I have not authorized anyone to resell my books except for a couple of bookstores. And I know that the copies that are quote unquote available are pirated copies, but I can't find a way for Amazon to stop that because Amazon only wants to make money and they don't really care about copyright issues. And so my question is this, is there any way that I can legally stop them from having pirated copies of my work on the pages of my books?
The answer is yes. The proper venue to resolve this dispute is in the court of law. Here is the challenge in this situation is that you do not know who's behind that website that is selling your counterfeit product. That is per se copyright infringement. It is a counterfeit. It's in the Copyright Act. But here's what you have to do. You need to find out who's behind that website and try researching the ISP address through a who is it search. You can go on, there's many websites that can give you that information behind the domain. So you have to find that domain, find out who is registered to, who owns it, and find out how you can contact them. It's a wild goose chase. It really is. The internet is the wild, wild west. It's very unregulated. So it's difficult to find out who's behind the screen. So you may have to reach out to investigators. First, try doing the who is it search. And from that who is it search, you can get a lot of information such as where the domain is registered. And then you contact the registry and you can make a DMCA takedown notice. All right,
Right. So I can only, issue a takedown to the companies that are doing this, not Amazon, because clearly, if I haven't sold very many copies of my book, and there are copies that are available by a publisher who happens to be in Malaysia or, somewhere else in the world that is basically buying a copy or buying an electronic copy and then reprinting it out without my permission. There's no way to go out. There's no way to basically do a cease and desist with Amazon. It has to be with the companies that they're allowing to post these pirated copies on.
Understand the situation completely. Happens a lot. What you will need to obtain in order for Amazon to comply with your request, because by law, yes, they're not required to under the Communications
Right.
Decency Act, CDA, which gives them immunity provider, in which people are publishing information on their platform, has immunity under Communications Decency Act, CDA Section 230. I'm sorry, my broadband is
Also, by the way,
my broadband is poor here. I apologize, but we'll do our best.
Yeah.
That's my fault. But we'll do our best. So the process that you'll need to follow, if you so choose, first I would try to locate the of the counterfeit product and try to communicate directly, because only they can take down the product. They are the ones behind it. They are the responsible party. But because you don't know who they are, and even if you do due diligence through who is it search, investigators, domain registries, you still may not be able to reach them. So you may have to file what we call a complaint, a complaint against an unknown individual in order to seek a declaratory order, a declaratory judgment from the court declaring that you own the work. Now, the key here is to have the copyright certificate. You got to have the power to get into court, which is the copyright certificate to get into federal court, and they are more versed in this type of situation. So I would file a John Doe complaint, and I would say immediately with your complaint, I would file a petition to the court for a court order, a declaratory judgment declaring that that you are the legal owner of this work, and there is infringing material on Amazon's platform. Now, even with a court order, Amazon by law is not required to follow even court orders. CDA Section 230 gives them a broad immunity. However, it is standard practice for these platforms to respect court orders. So I would say that's your best bet. The most certain way to proceed is to communicate directly with the. It's very difficult to find them. People hide behind the internet. So you may have to seek recourse in the court by filing a complaint against an unknown individual, what we call a John Doe, a Doe complaint, and seek a court order declaring you the legal owner of the material, and that there is in fact infringing content on Amazon. It is a process, but that's really the only way you'll get Amazon's attention.
And a secondary issue is that what is being pirated is a novel that has been adapted from a screenplay. The novel is and formally screen almost one-for-one plot-wise. So do I need to also file a copyright? I mean, theoretically, as soon as the work is committed to paper, it is therefore copyrighted. And since I've already copyrighted the original IP, do I need to go back and file a secondary copyright for the novel?
Technically, you do not, because it can be considered a derivative. And as the copyright owner, you are the exclusive rights owner. However, and here is practically speaking, because you want to be best protected, I would say more copyrights, the better.
Right.
As a creative, you pick and choose what you want to file with the Copyright Office. Sometimes you need to make a consideration, do an analysis. Is this work valuable to enough for me to protect it? And the rule of thumb is if you are showing your work to others and you're trying to pitch it, then yes, you should have that specific particular piece of work registered for copyright. More copyrights, the better. It's just, I mean, there's government filing fees. That's true. And it can add up. However, if you're taking your career serious and these are works that you consider valuable, I mean, you could get a significant return for them. You want to take every step to protect them. So copyrights, and here's to go a step further, and I think we discussed it with Tony a week or two ago. If you are using your work in other jurisdictions, for example, China, a jurisdiction that does not respect United States copyright or United States intellectual property rights, then you want to file what we call a defensive copyright, a copyright within that specific jurisdiction. Now, there are certain countries that are signed to treaties through the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. So, Tony, I know you asked me this a while ago, and I forgot to mention this. There is, for example, a World Intellectual Property Organization, I believe it's called, or it might be through the European Union. There's a European Union copyright as well you can file. It depends on where you are going to be profiting your work, where you're going to be exploiting your work. If it's international, you're going to want to look at as many defensive copyrights as possible in order to protect your work. China is notorious for counterfeit. Most likely, the counterfeiter in your situation is probably from China or Russia. But that still does not mean that Amazon will not comply with the United States court order.
Well, this is apparent regular practice that everyone is experiencing. So I'm not the only one that has this issue.
Counterfeiting has been widespread forever.
Piracy is like the third or the fourth biggest industry in the world at this point.
Yes, I agree. I do want to give Gitron an opportunity to ask a question. Thank you for logging in, Robin. I would say do your due diligence. Do a who is it search. You can go on the internet and type in who is it. There's plenty of platforms that offer that. Yeah, whoisit.com I think is one. Yes. Find out who's behind the site and try to contact them directly. The key here is to have your copyright certificate. That's the key here. All right, you need that. That's critical.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And then as your next resort would be to try to seek recourse through the court by seeking a court order, filing a DOE complaint and seeking a court order. Gitron, do you have any questions that you would may like to ask us? Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Gitron, can you hear us?
He's on mute.
I think you're on audio now, Gitron.
I'm here.
Yes. Mic check. Gitron.
I'm here. Oh,
Yes.
were you talking to me, Justin? I was on the phone. Sorry.
We'll get to you, Anthony. We're going to give Gitron the opportunity since he signed on early. But if we can't hear from him, we'll go. Yes, Gitron. How may we be of service?
Yeah, my question is in regards to getting relief from void default judgment in an unlawful detainer case.
Okay. Well, first, I do not do unlawful detainers. Okay, I'm little knowledgeable in the area, but I do not do landlord-tenant law. It's a very specific niche. Now, yes. So you would want to speak with a landlord-tenant attorney.
Okay, but this opened up into a can of worms where there's it's over our cat little house. Anyways, I was falsely arrested twice over the matter for trespassing and criminal threats by the same sheriffs. So I was thinking if there's a malicious prosecution lawsuit there against my sister for the false police reports.
Okay. I kind of understand the situation. It seems it's rather complex, involving family family members, which most disputes do involve. Most disputes are between family members, believe it or not. Most civil disputes, court cases, are between family members. So it's not uncommon. Now, as far as filing a malicious prosecution, I believe there is also a claim for filing a false police report. You want to look into the civil code. Are you in California?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to refer to the civil code to determine if there's any civil claims you can assert against your sister. I'm not well versed on people making false police reports. I know there's a crossover with defamation and malicious prosecution, but I believe there is some form of protection because we want to encourage people to come to the police and make reports. All right. So there may be some form of protection, dare I say, immunity from making these police reports. But I also do believe there is a claim for making false police reports. So you may want to look into that. Now,
And that'd be
that
sort
would,
of
yeah,
as a
that,
tort.
yes, that would be a civil tort. You would have civil claims against your sister for doing this. I don't believe you have any claims against the sheriff's department because they're doing their job by investigating. And even if they had enough information to arrest, I don't know if there has been any charges brought yet. It's up to the district attorney to bring a charge.
Yeah, and one of the criminal threats, they declined to charge because apparently the DA read the evidence and seen the contradicting reports or declaration from my sister and her third-party witness. But it's all goes back to the unlawful detainer where she ended up selling the house in 2 days when I was arrested for trespassing at the property I had possession of.
Understood.
And then another question about going after the commission for entering a void default judgment, denying my right to a jury trial.
Okay. I don't think you can go after the commissioner, all right, whoever that may be. I take it that you are referring to the judge who entered the default. What the process is you can motion to set aside the default. I don't know on what grounds the default was entered. A default judgment, there are different types of default judgments, different types of strengths of default. There are some defaults that are more stronger than others in order to collect on that judgment. But that's not the case. You're on the other side here and you want to set it aside. So I don't know. There's a lot of factors that are involved. Were you in fact served? Was the service adequate? Did you have proper notice of the lawsuit? Did you have time to respond? A lot of factors are considered. I will say that defaults generally are easy to set aside for due process. You want to rely on your due process rights. You want to be heard. So you want to motion the court to set aside the default. I wouldn't go to say that the default is void. It's not void. It's been entered by the court. It is a legit judgment. Okay. You just now have to go through the process and motion to the court to set aside and then appear and answer. It just reverses the clock and the litigation starts all over.
Yeah. I've done a little research and I guess per CCP courts of procedures, they can enter a default judgment against me if I reply with an answer, and I have an answer on file with a request for a jury trial. And this was 4 months into the preliminary proceedings. We never got sent out to Department 1 for an assignment for the trial.
Well, then I would motion to set it aside on those grounds. Refer to the docket. You have an answer on file. You responded. Yes. You appeared. All right. You're not avoiding this issue. You showed up. You followed.
I also motioned for to set aside a default judgment, and I appealed it with the petition for a writ review. I'm pro per. And they denied it and saying when there was a more direct avenue or a more efficient way, I had to take it back to the circuit court. So I'm going back and forth now. And in the meanwhile, my sister executed the writs of execution and possession under the color of a void judgment.
It's a good argument. Now you just need the court to listen to you. I would say you would be heard, honestly, you would be heard better by justice if you had a lawyer. That is essentially what the court and the judges are telling you. They're throwing it up and down, and they're communicating to you that this issue is complex. You need to get a lawyer. You can't do it on your own. That's what the court, that is what the judge is essentially telling you.
And 4 weeks, 4 months into preliminary, where it should have been sent out, day one. So there's some issues there, but you're absolutely correct. Pro per, they're just rolling all over me, but I'm finding their procedural errors and whatnot. So that's where I stand on that.
Yes, I understand. It's a difficult process. I would essentially, my suggestion is that you get representation. You try to work it out with your sister through legal counsel, or else you're going to be up and down in the court system for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yep. That's what it seems like. Yeah, I'm even looking into the 1983, for violations of as a constitutional tort for the commissioner denying my jury trial.
Gitron, I would encourage you to, that's not a avenue you're going to succeed on. All right. That's not your ball game. That's not your fight. That's not your fight to fight. You can't go up against a judge. You got no chance. You're going to be hitting yourself against the wall and spending a lot of money, time, energy, and resources, which is probably a lot more valuable to you. My suggestion, again, is to get a lawyer, speak with your sister, and try to work it out. That's the best way you can do it. I know there's a lot of emotional issues involved, especially with family members, and that's why I encourage you to get an attorney, a third party who can view the matter objectively, professionally, and knows the law. All right.
Yeah.
I would not only that though, I just encourage you. It's the best way to go. It's the best way to go. You're fighting battles you cannot win, and you have one one precious life. This is really what you want to do with it.
And it's that's the problem. There's I bailed out, so all my money's gone. So so I tried pro bono, and got nowhere. And contingency, I was thinking maybe even a probate, maybe if they do contingency. I'm not sure. I'm trying all the avenues because it's literally a can of worms. It's so complex. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think you're thinking a little bit too much into it in all different realms of the law. I think there needs to be some type of subjective agreement with yourself to come to terms that you just need to work it out with your sister. You got to call her up. I know it's pretty complicated, but every issue is you're going to be causing more financial harm to yourself in the long term. This is the best decision. I know it's difficult to do. You got to pick up the phone. I would encourage you to go through with legal counsel because you guys are adversaries right now, and what you say will be held against you.
And I don't know how she ended up getting a restraining order. However, I contested that she's even the ownership. There's a forged deed involved. So it's super complicated. That's a problem.
Yes,
and I never got my day in court. So the default judgment. So that's where I stand. I just thought maybe I could.
To be honest, though, it seems like your sister is a very worthy foe. She's beaten you to every single procedural step. She's ahead of you. She's obviously winning. You got to come to terms with her. You got to resolve something. All right. And a resolution A settlement of a dispute is where both parties are not happy. You're not going to be happy. She's not going to happy. You guys have to come to a compromise, or else you guys are going to be legally destroying each other.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think, yeah, it's pretty complex, and I'm just going to keep, doing some research until, I don't know, maybe there's a solution, or maybe a little cure for it. Or
Understood. And I know access to quality legal services and attorneys is difficult. Just know that we are here every Monday, 9 a.m. UD and probate and void defus, everything we discussed about. I'm honest, is not my practice area, and it's
okay.
but this is a place you can tap into. All right. I understand that you may have to go forward with improper. So just know that you can tap into here every Monday, 9 a.m. at no charge. But again, please keep your questions general. Let's not name identities, and people can put things together through consequential evidence. So try to keep information general. And if you need to speak more specifically, you can always reach out to us or other lawyers for confidential consultations.
Will do. I appreciate your time, and
feel free,
your help, and your concerns and your suggestions.
Absolutely. Feel free to stay on and listen to others' issues, because there's a lot to learn. I want to give Tony an opportunity to ask any questions.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Gitron. Hello, Tony.
Good morning, Dustin. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. My scripts are starting to get some real traction nowadays. I think since the last time we met, I placed finalists in about 3 different contests and festivals. So with about 2 or 3 different scripts, so I'm happy about that people appreciate my work. Right now, I'm working on my script of the year for next year. My manager said that I should write a thriller, a psychological thriller. So I'm doing something in the vein of Silence of the Lambs. And what I really, really want to do is have a character, the main character, Claire Starling from Silence of the Lambs, kind of appear in my script. I know there are, stipulations of using people's likenesses. What should I prepare for if I want to try to use a name and a character from another movie?
A license. A license is equivalent to permission. License equals permission. So you need consent. You need permission. If you think there's going to be any assertion of rights to this name or content or character, I would seek to get a license. Now, names are not protectable. All right. That's a different story. You can't copyright a name. You cannot trademark a name. It's too descriptive. It's too general. All right. There's too many Tonys out there. You can't copyright Tony. You can't trademark Tony. All right. It's too much in the public sphere. So I don't know what name you're talking about, but Superman, that's most likely trademarked. So you're going to have to get some type of license permission from whoever is the rights owner. Superman, I don't know, is DC or Marvel. And there are cases out there where, and I think we discussed this in the past, where people use the mesh, a character mesh, where they take a Batman and they take a Superman and they call it Superbat, and they combine them together. But there's been cases that held that that's infringing on these characters. All right, characters can be protected. Mickey Mouse, Batman. So I don't know more of the specifics, but it is a case specific matter, a fact specific matter. There are some characters that are more protected than others. I think it's going to be very difficult to use Mickey Mouse as a mark of your project.
Okay, so yeah, it would be proper and probably more professional to get a license. Because Science of the Land with the Orion picture, I don't even know if they're around anymore.
not too familiar.
So if they're not around, if Orion Pictures is not around, what do I do? Who do I go? I would have to go to IMDb or something like that, and maybe go to an agent, or
Yeah, I would look up the project on IMDb and see what information is listed. I think that's a good step.
okay,
And then find out who has the publishing rights and contact them. I'm sure there are some ownership rights behind that that film, Silence of the Lambs. It's very notable.
okay, all right. Yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. Just like in the preliminary stages, I should be writing it
So,
next year. So I just wanted, I think it'll be cool, and I think it'll be a decent project. I mean, some years later, I mean, that was a phenomenal project. You know, won like all the major Oscars. I think it'll be a good project to do. I want to talk to my manager about it and see what she says, and see if I can get. Yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. It's the end of the year. I'm looking to sell my scripts right now, and I'm just trying to make sure I got everything copyrighted. And like I said, what I think I'm going to do is start. I already have an LLC for my real estate business. It's Oaklane Capital.
mhm.
But I think I may put my Oaklane Media under Oaklane Capital and just make Oaklane Capital my main LLC. Put Oaklane Media under Oaklane Capital as an LLC. Then for each individual script, I'll make each individual script an LLC.
That's a
Would that
good
be
process.
smart?
Yeah, that would be. Look, the more protections, the more LLCs you have, the better. All right, but there are costs involved with managing those LLCs, government taxes and filing costs. So the more legal protections, the better. And you also have to comply with keeping separate the accounts. Now, as far as changing your capital LLC, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. The only requirement for the purpose of the business is that it's legal. It can be general business, but the more specific, the better. So you know your avenue. And so if people are infringing on your industry or competing, it's easier to prove that because this is your business purpose. So if you have a specific business purpose listed in your filings, I believe in California, is your statement of information filings. I think it's semi-annual. You have to file them. I would amend the business purpose to include entertainment and media projects.
Okay, so yeah, maybe I should just create a separate LLC for Oaklane Media. LLC,
You
which
could
is
do that
more
as well.
specifically entertainment, because Oaklane Capital is really for real estate, which is real estate, which is real property, not personal property, which would be scripts. Because I believe
Yeah.
real property is stuff that's fixed, and personal property is stuff that can be moved. So I would say that script would be personal property, and you can put that under Oaklane Media. And I guess when if I were to loan my services out, like as a screenwriter to like Universal or Warner Brothers, I would probably want to loan it out under Oaklane Media, right?
I would say in this situation, it's better to have separation. Your media endeavors and then your real estate endeavors. There's too much divergence there. They're two separate things. So I think you're better served having separate LLCs. So there's not confusion and commingling, and it's just better. Separation is better. All right, clean, clarity, and no commingling. Different project endeavors. It could come up better for liability as well. When you're dealing with real estate, they can only reach your real estate LLC. When you're dealing with media, they can only reach your media LLC. So you have legal protection in terms of the assets there. As far as going under, yeah, I would keep all your entertainment and media through that LLC. Now, until you get prominently loaned out for your personal writing services, once you get a little bit busier and you're entering many loan out agreements, then maybe I would think about maybe creating even a separate LLC just for your writing services. Does that make sense?
Okay.
But that's in
Yeah.
the future. You don't right now. Seems like it's only sparse. So just have it
Yeah.
fall within your entertainment operations.
Yeah, I haven't sold anything yet in essence. And I'm not really worth anything right now, but hopefully I'll start selling something.
Good. I see Robin's putting a lot of information in the chat. Please take down as much information as you can in the chat, because when we sign off, it disappears. So take notes. I know Robin's putting some good info in there. And you're right. It depends on how complex you want to get. You know, there's benefits in having multi-layers of LLC, the umbrella LLC, the operating LLC, the individual projects LLCs. There's benefits to that, but there's also cons. There's cost, there's time, there's management. Sometimes it's better to keep things simple. Just one LLC. It depends. It all depends on the amount of volume, what different areas. You have to really give it a personalized analysis. It goes to risk, the risk and exposure, the liabilities, and the benefits.
Okay.
It depends on how active you are in the industry, how many projects you're making. Is it cost efficient for you if you have a slate of projects? Maybe you want to put a slate of projects under one LLC, 10 projects under one LLC, and then you can sell ownership rights into that slate to raise capital. There's a lot of different type of investment ways you can raise capital for projects. Maybe it's a significant one big project and you just want it in one LLC, or maybe you don't have that many projects right now and you just need a production company. All right. Exactly. I'm just reading Robin's comments in the chat. Exactly. They're shields. But be careful as well, because the entertainment industry is ripe with frauds. And if you have a history of opening, shutting down LLCs, having them deactivated, it just doesn't look very well. And when someone comes after you for, liability, they have a history of formed companies that are deactivated or gone bankrupt. It's just, there is a record there on the public registry of you opening businesses. But the entertainment industry is quite ripe with fraud. There are a lot of LLCs opening, closing. There you go. That's a good suggestion. To create an LLC for each production only when you have the budget and ready to go into pre-production. That seems like a good moment in time when you should give a consideration into protecting yourself. Pre-production, production, you're entering into contracts, so you want that layer of protection. Before pre-production and development, you really have an idea. You have a script. So you want to, the key there is to just protect the intellectual property. And then once you start getting into transactions, you want another layer of corporate protection, the corporate veil. Any other questions? Robin, do you have any questions or comments? And if not, we kind of went a little long.
Well, I just, I've been dealing with this for years, like I have the umbrella organization, and then I have several other organizations that are underneath. I mean, I have film projects, I have tech projects, so I want to make sure that the umbrella basically shields me overall, but then each intellectual property, has its own shield in and of itself. So the more layers that, you have, there's more layers of protection. And so, as long as you maintain each one as a discrete organization.
Absolutely.
Because he throws, a film production under his real estate business, and someone comes after him for the real estate business, it can take the whole thing down.
Absolutely.
And once, they, pierce the corporate shield for the real estate business, then, whatever your production is gets, non-viable when it comes to Hollywood.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right there. And then the creditors can start putting liens on the real property that you have in transactions. It's just, you want to keep it separate.
I have a website name, a domain for my corporate 21st century, but I need to let go of the website it's attached to. But I also need to trademark the name once the website goes away and the domain goes up for, purchased by someone else, so that someone else can't then take my name and create a name and trademark it and et cetera, and then I lose out on the name.
Yes. Okay, guys. Well, we are past the 3/4 mark of the hour, and I want to thank you guys for logging on, and hope you guys have a good start of your week, and say take care, take action, and feel free to sign back on here every Monday, 9 a.m. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.